So today we're going to keep talking about verbs in the present. So action words, words about doing something in the present tense, meaning something that you do a lot or often. So we're just going to do practice. So we have the first sentence, your sister very fast. And the verb that we're going to use is talk. So from what we've learned before, we know that the only reason you need to change the verb from the present is depending on who we're talking about. If we talk about a he or a she or it, we need to add an s at the end of the verb. So for example, this sentence, your sister, and our verb is talk. So your sister is a she. So it's going to be your sister talks very fast. And our next sentence, my brother and I, Spanish. So again, we look at the verb and we look at who we're talking about. My brother and I, since we say and, my brother and I, it means two people. So it could be they. So they speak Spanish. My brother and I speak Spanish. So even though my brother is a he, because you're talking about I and my brother, it's two people, so it means they, which is why you say speak instead of speaks. They live in Los Angeles. So that one's going to stay the same. They live in Los Angeles because we used the word they before it, not he, she, or it. Rosa, a lot. The verb we want to use is work. And since we said Rosa, who's a she, we would add an s at the end. Rosa works a lot. So we're going to do some more practice. So if we have your sister talks very fast, we add the s at the end of talk to make a sound talks because it's a she, your sister. Now, how would we make this mean no? Your sister talks very fast. Yes. How would we make it say no? Your sister does not talk very fast. So if you remember last class, what we have to do is we just add the word do not in between the verb and who we're talking about. And since this one is a she, we have to add the s at the end of do, so it says does not talk, and we get rid of the s here because we put it over here. And again, your sister doesn't. This word means the same as this word, same. They just sound different. Your sister doesn't talk very fast. And to change it to a question, we just put do in the front before whoever we are talking about. So does your sister talk very fast? So for the next one, my brother and I speak Spanish. So for this one, to make it the opposite, to say no, we just add do not. My brother and I do not speak Spanish. My brother and I don't speak Spanish. Do not and don't mean the same thing. So both of these sentences mean the same thing. They're just said a little differently. Do my brother and I speak Spanish? So this one, to make it a question, we took the word do and we put it at the beginning of the sentence. So for the next one, they live in Los Angeles. Yep, that means yes. They live in Los Angeles. To make it no, they do not live in Los Angeles. They don't live in Los Angeles. Do not and don't mean the same thing. So these two sentences mean the same thing. They both mean no. Do they live in Los Angeles? Again, just put the do before whoever you're talking about, whether it's they or Rosa or he or she. Rosa works a lot. So for this one, Rosa does not work a lot. So we took the S from right here and we put it after do. So instead of saying do not, we said does not because it's Rosa who's a she. If it was a he, like if we said Tim, we would also say does not. If we said the dog, it also would be the dog does not. So this one, Rosa doesn't work a lot. Doesn't and does not, same. These are the same thing. And to make it a question, we just say, does Rosa work a lot? More practice. We have a lot of meetings. How would we change this to mean no, to say that you do not have a lot of meetings? We do not have a lot of meetings. We put the do not in between who we're talking about and what's happening. Again, we don't have a lot of meetings. Don't and do not are the same thing. These two sentences mean the same thing. And to make it a question, do we have a lot of meetings? So you just keep this sentence the same and you just add do at the front to make it a question. The vacuum breaks a lot. This one, we have to use an S after break because we said the vacuum, which isn't it, it's a thing. So to say the vacuum does not break a lot, it means that it does not. The vacuum is okay. So the vacuum does not break a lot. The vacuum doesn't break a lot. And we put the S over here, so that means we take it off of the verb when we're talking about, whenever we put do not, we put the S after the do, and we take it off of the verb. To make it a question, does the vacuum break a lot? Again, we need to put the S because we're talking about he, she, or it, right? So we need to put the S after do. So does, and it makes kind of a Z sound. Does the vacuum break a lot? So this next section is hard. And if you don't want to do this part, that's okay. It's confusing. So you don't need to do this. You can stop watching the video now if you already are having a hard time. But this is more advanced. So this is how to help you to know how to spell the word. So it's kind of easy to say the word, to just add an S or a Z or an Ez sound, so like studies. But when you spell it, you can't just add an S after the Y. You can't do that. So when you have a verb that ends in a Y, so like the word study, that's a verb, it's something that you do. It ends in a Y. So that means you have to change the Y to an I and you add ES. So studies, we had to change the Y to an I and we put ES at the end. So that's how you spell it. She studies every day. Now, if A or E or I, you, O or U, sorry, if it's A, E, I, O, U, if any of these letters come before the Y in a verb, so for example, in the word stay, there's an A in front of the Y, you just have to add an S. That's all you have to do at the end of the verb. So stay just turns into stays, S-T-A-Y-S. He stays in his room. So that's super easy. So for this one, you just look before. So it wouldn't be stays because it ends in a Y, because there's an A before it, or if there's an E, I, O, U before the Y, you just add an S. So if the letter O or sh or ch or S is at the end of the verb, like in the word teach or go or do, you just add ES at the end of it. So for example, she teaches English. It makes kind of a es sound, she teaches. For the word go, it turns into goes. Julia goes to work on Mondays. And do turns into does. She does hard work. So that's some help with how to spell the words. This is extra to let you know that you cannot use the word am or is or are, was or were before a verb in the present. So for example, I am walked to school. You can't do that. You can't put am before walk if it's in the present tense. So since it's not walked, or you need to not use am. So it would be I walk to school. There doesn't need to be anything between who you're talking about and what they are doing when you're talking about the present tense. So she lives in Utah. We would not have was. So it's just she lives in Utah. He takes the bus. Nope, we get rid of the is. He takes the bus. You cannot put is. They are work during the week. We need to not use are here. So it would just be they work during the week. So the pattern is, it's just who you're talking about and what they are doing, and that's all you need. You don't need to put an are. The only reason you would put anything between here is if you're saying do not or does not. That's the only time you're going to put them between these two words. We were take the tracks. Nope, we don't need to do that. We take the tracks. So we don't need were here. So that's it for today. I hope you're all doing well. Let me know if you have any questions.